Jake Morrison crouched behind a broken wall, his rifle ready. Smoke filled the air around him. The sounds of battle echoed through the ruined city streets. Explosions shook the ground every few seconds. "Sergeant, we need to move!" shouted Private Danny Carter from across the rubble. His young face was covered in dust and fear. Jake looked at his watch. They had been fighting for 6 hours straight. The Zephyrians had pushed deep into the colony city. His squad was running low on ammunition and energy. 3 of his men were already wounded. The war had been going on for 3 years now. Humans and Zephyrians fought over this planet and others like it. The aliens were tall and thin, with skin that looked like crystal. They could speak to each other without words, using their minds. This made them dangerous enemies. Jake had seen too many good soldiers die in this war. He was tired of it all, but he had a job to do. He had to protect his men and follow orders. "Carter, stay low," Jake called back. "We move in 2 minutes." Jake checked his weapon one more time. The plasma charges were running low. He had maybe 20 shots left, not much for what lay ahead. A new sound caught his attention. It was different from the battle noise. Softer, almost like crying. Jake moved carefully toward the sound. It came from a collapsed building nearby. Most of the roof had fallen in. Broken glass and metal covered the ground. The crying got louder as he got closer. Jake stopped and listened. It was definitely crying, but it sounded strange. Not quite human. "Sergeant, what are you doing?" Danny whispered. "We need to go!" Jake held up his hand for silence. He moved closer to the collapsed building. Through a gap in the rubble, he saw something that made him freeze. A small figure was trapped under a fallen beam. It was a child, but not a human child. The skin had a faint shine to it. The hair was silver and moved like water. It was a Zephyrian child. The little girl looked up at Jake with large, frightened eyes. They were the color of deep blue sky. Tears ran down her face. She tried to move, but the beam held her leg down. Jake's training told him to walk away. The enemy was the enemy. Age did not matter, but something inside him would not let him leave. He looked back at his squad. They were watching him, waiting for orders. Captain Lisa Brooks would be angry if she knew what he was thinking. The rules were clear about dealing with alien civilians. The child made a soft sound. She was trying to speak, but Jake could not understand the words. Her voice was musical, like wind chimes. She pointed at her trapped leg and then at him. Jake made his choice. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and moved toward the child. The beam was heavy, but he could lift it. He had to be careful not to hurt her more. "Sergeant!" Danny called out. "What are you doing? That's one of them!" "I can see that, soldier," Jake replied. He got his hands under the beam. "Just keep watch." Jake lifted the beam slowly. The child pulled her leg free. It was hurt, but not broken. She looked up at Jake with surprise. No fear now, just wonder. Jake opened his medical kit. He had basic supplies for treating wounds. He wrapped the child's injured leg with a bandage. She watched every move he made. When he was done, the child touched his hand. Jake felt a strange, warm feeling in his mind. Not painful, just different. Like someone was gently touching his thoughts. The child smiled. It was the first time Jake had seen a Zephyrian smile. It looked almost human. Suddenly, new sounds filled the air. Heavy footsteps. The deep humming of Zephyrian weapons. They were coming this way. Jake's squad raised their weapons. Danny looked scared. They all knew what Zephyrian soldiers could do in close combat. "Sergeant, we need to run!" Danny shouted, but Jake did not run. He stayed next to the child. She was too hurt to move fast. If they left her here, the fighting might kill her. If they took her, his own people might court-martial him. The footsteps got closer. Jake could see shapes moving through the smoke. Tall figures with weapons that glowed blue, Zephyrian soldiers. Jake made another choice that would change everything. He stood up and put his hands in the air. Then he moved in front of the child, shielding her with his body. He called out to the approaching soldiers. "I have your child. She is hurt, but alive." The Zephyrian soldiers stopped. Jake could see them clearly now. Their armor looked like flowing water made solid. Their weapons were pointed at him and his squad. One of the soldiers was larger than the others. He had marks. On his armor, that meant he was a leader. He spoke in the musical Zephyrian language. Jake did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. The alien was asking questions. Jake pointed at the child and then at his medical kit. He spoke slowly and clearly. "I helped her. I want to give her back to you." The leader tilted his head. His large eyes studied Jake for a long moment. Then he made a gesture to his soldiers. They lowered their weapons slightly. Jake carefully picked up the child. She was light in his arms. She looked up at him and made soft sounds. Then she looked at the soldiers and made different sounds. The leader stepped forward. He was at least 7 feet tall. His crystal skin caught the light from fires burning nearby. He reached out slowly and took the child from Jake. The child spoke to the leader in their language. She pointed at Jake several times. The leader's eyes grew wide. He looked at Jake with something that might have been respect. The leader spoke again. This time he used a small device on his belt. Jake heard broken English words. "You help, small one." Why? Jake thought about his answer. Because she needed help. She is just a child. The leader nodded slowly. He spoke into his device again. Then he looked at Jake and said, "We remember this." The leader made another gesture. His soldiers moved back, creating a path. The message was clear. Jake and his squad could leave. As they walked away, Jake looked back once. The leader was still holding the child. She waved at Jake with her small hand. Jake waved back. Danny walked beside him, shaking his head. "Sergeant, what just happened back there?" Jake was quiet for a moment. He was not sure himself what had happened. He had saved an enemy child. The enemy had let them go because of it. Nothing in his training had prepared him for this. "I don't know, Carter," Jake finally said. "But I think everything just changed." They walked back through the ruined city toward their base. Behind them, the Zephyrian soldiers disappeared into the smoke. The battle continued around them, but something was different now. Jake touched the spot where the child had touched his hand. He could still feel that warm sensation in his mind. He wondered if he would ever see her again. He had no idea that his simple act of kindness would soon bring the most powerful Zephyrian leader to his doorstep. He had no idea that his life was about to change in ways he could never imagine. For now he just walked home through the war zone, carrying with him the memory of a child's grateful smile. 3 days passed since Jake saved the Zephyrian child. The fighting in the city had stopped. Both sides pulled back to their bases. Nobody knew why. Jake sat in his small room at the human military base. He was writing a report about what happened. Captain Lisa Brooks had asked him many questions. She was not happy about his choice to help the enemy child. "You broke protocol, Sergeant," she had said. "You put your squad at risk for an alien." Jake understood her anger. but he did not regret what he did. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see the child's frightened face. He had done the right thing. A knock came at his door. "Come in," Jake called. Danny Carter stepped inside. He looked excited and nervous. "Sergeant, you need to come outside. Something big is happening." Jake followed Danny out of the building. Other soldiers were already gathered in the main courtyard. They were all looking up at the sky and pointing. Above them, a large ship was coming down through the clouds. But it was not a human ship. It was Zephyrian. The hull seemed to flow like liquid metal. Strange lights moved across its surface. "Sir, that's an enemy ship," said Private Tony Martinez. "Should we take cover?" Captain Brooks appeared beside them. She had a radio in her hand. "Stand down, everyone. The ship is flying a white flag. They want to talk, not fight." Jake stared at the ship. It was beautiful in a way that human ships were not. It landed gently in the open field beyond the base. No sound, no dust. Just a soft settling like a bird landing on water. Colonel Ryan Phillips drove up in a military vehicle. He was the base commander, a man with gray hair and serious eyes. "Sergeant Morrison, get in. They asked for you by name." Jake's heart started beating faster. "They asked for me, sir?" "That's right. Apparently, you made quite an impression the other day. The ride to the landing site was quiet." Jake tried to think of what he would say to the Zephyrians. He had never really talked to one before. The brief exchange with their leader had been his first real conversation with an alien. A circle of human soldiers surrounded the Zephyrian ship. Their weapons were lowered but ready. In the middle of the circle, a group of aliens waited. Jake had seen Zephyrian soldiers before, but these were different. They wore robes instead of armor. Their skin was brighter, more colorful. One of them was clearly the leader. She was tall like all Zephyrians, but she moved with grace that made her seem to float. Her skin shifted colors like the northern lights. Blue, green, purple, all flowing together. Her eyes were like silver stars. Colonel Phillips stopped the vehicle. "That's High Counselor Lisa Andra. She's one of their most important leaders." "Whatever. You did, Morrison. It got her attention." Jake got out of the vehicle. His legs felt weak. He had never been this close to such an important alien before. He walked toward the group slowly. The High Counselor saw him coming. She moved forward to meet him. When she stopped, she was only a few feet away. Jake could see that her eyes were not just silver. They seemed to hold tiny lights inside them. She spoke, and a small device on her robe translated her words into English. Her voice was like music. "You are the human who protected my daughter." Jake felt his mouth go dry. "Your daughter?" "Yes. The child you saved is named Zira." "She is my daughter." The High Counselor's skin shifted to brighter blues and greens. "I am Lysandra of the Third House, Speaker for the Council of Stars." Jake did not know what to say. He had saved the daughter of one of the most powerful aliens in their empire. Is she okay?" "She is well. Your medical care was skillful. But that is not why I am here." Lysandra moved closer. Jake felt that strange, warm feeling in his mind again, like when the child had touched his hand. "My daughter told me what you did. You risked your life to save her. You gave her medical care. You protected her from harm. This means something very important to my people." The colonel stepped forward. "High Counselor, we appreciate you coming to thank Sergeant Morrison, but we should discuss this through proper diplomatic channels." Lysandra looked at the colonel. Her skin shifted to cooler colors. This is not about diplomacy, human leader. This is about honor. She turned back to Jake. In our culture, when someone saves the life of our child, they become bound to our family. It is called the life debt. It cannot be ignored or forgotten. Jake felt confused. I don't understand. What does that mean? It means you are no longer just a human soldier to us. You are someone who showed the highest form of honor. You protected innocent life at great risk to yourself. One of the other Zephyrians stepped forward. He was wearing armor and looked like a military leader. His skin was darker, with sharp red lines running through it. High Counselor, he said in accented English. This human is still our enemy. The war continues. Lysandra's eyes flashed brighter. Her skin shifted to deep red and orange. Commander Veltar, this human showed more honor in one moment than many show in a lifetime. The war may continue, but the life debt is sacred. She looked back at Jake. I have a proposal for you, Jake Morrison. I wish you to serve as protector and teacher to my daughter. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. What? Zira is special among our people. She will one day lead, but she needs to learn about honor and courage. You have shown both. I want you to help raise her. Colonel Phillips stepped between them. Now wait just a minute. You can't just ask one of our soldiers to... I can ask, Lysandra said calmly. He can choose to accept or refuse. But the life debt exists whether he accepts or not. Jake's mind was spinning. You want me to help raise your daughter? But we're at war. I'm a human. You're aliens. Species does not matter when it comes to honor, Lysandra said. My daughter needs to learn that there are good beings in the universe, even among those we fight. You proved that such beings exist. Commander Veltar spoke again. High Counselor, our people will not accept this. A human cannot be trusted with... Our people will accept what I decide, Lysandra said firmly. Her skin flashed bright red for a moment. Zira herself asked for this. She wants to see the human who saved her again. Jake looked around at all the faces watching him. Human soldiers, who looked confused and worried. Zephyrian officials who seemed divided. His own colonel who looked like he wanted to end this conversation immediately. I need time to think about this, Jake said finally. Lysandra nodded. Of course. But know this, Jake Morrison. Whether you accept my proposal or not, you will always be welcome among the Third House. You will always be under our protection. This is the way of the life debt. She reached into her robes and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with soft blue light. This is for you. It will let you speak with us when you are ready to give your answer. Jake took the crystal. It was warm in his hand and seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. I will return in 7 of your days, Lysandra said. Think carefully about what I have offered. Think about what kind of future we might build together. The Zephyrians began walking back toward their ship. Lysandra paused and looked back at Jake one more time. My daughter speaks of you often. She calls you the kind human who helped when others would not. Children see truth more clearly than adults sometimes. Then she was gone, disappearing into the ship with the others. The ship rose silently into the sky and vanished into the clouds. Jake stood there holding the crystal, feeling like his world had just turned upside down. Colonel Phillips put a hand on his shoulder. Son, I think you just started something that's going to change this whole war. Jake looked at the crystal in his hand It pulsed gently like it was alive. He thought about the little girl with frightened eyes and the beautiful alien woman who claimed he had shown honor. He had 7 days to decide if he wanted to become part of something completely new. 7 days to decide if he was brave enough to cross the line between species and help raise an alien child. 7 days to decide if peace was possible after all. Jake could not sleep. For 3 nights, he had stared at the crystal Lysandra gave him. It sat on his desk, glowing softly in the dark. Sometimes he thought he could hear faint music coming from it. The base was in chaos. News of the Zephyrian proposal had reached the high command. Generals and politicians were arguing about what to do. Some saw it as a chance for peace. Others thought it was a trap. Captain Brooks knocked on Jake's door. "Morrison, you have visitors." Jake opened the door to find Dr. Amanda Foster waiting in the hallway. She was a scientist who studied alien biology and culture. Jake had seen her around the base but never talked to her. "Sergeant Morrison, I need to speak with you about the Zephyrian offer," she said. Dr. Foster was a small woman with red hair and smart eyes. She carried a tablet computer and looked very serious. They sat in the base meeting room. Dr. Foster spread papers across the table. The papers had pictures of Zephyrians and charts with alien writing. "What do you know about Zephyrian culture?" she asked. "Not much," Jake admitted. "They're tall, they can talk with their minds, and they've been trying to kill us for 3 years. Dr. Foster shook her head. "It's much more complicated than that. I've been studying their communications for 2 years. The life debt that Lysandra mentioned is very real. It's one of their strongest cultural laws." She showed him a chart. When a Zephyrian child is saved by someone outside their family, that person becomes spiritually connected to the family line. It's not just gratitude. It's deeper than that. Jake looked at the strange writing on the papers. "What does that mean for me?" "It means Lysandra wasn't just being polite. In her culture, you are now part of her family. Not by marriage or adoption in the human sense, but by honor bond. She literally cannot ignore this debt." Dr. Foster pulled out another paper. "But there's more. I've been analyzing the recordings of your meeting. Lysandra's skin color changes told a story." "Her skin changes." "Zephyrians communicate with color as much as words. When she talked about you, her skin showed deep respect and affection. When Commander Veltar objected, she showed anger and authority. She's not just offering this to you out of duty. She genuinely wants you to be part of her daughter's life." Jake felt overwhelmed. Why would she trust a human with something so important? Because you proved something to her. Most Zephyrians believe humans are violent and selfish. You showed mercy to a child when you had nothing to gain and everything to lose. That's the kind of honor they value most. The door opened and Colonel Phillips entered with another man Jake did not recognize. The stranger wore the uniform of a general. "Sergeant Morrison, this is General Pete Harrison from Earth Command," the colonel said. General Harrison was an older man with cold eyes. He sat down across from Jake and stared at him for a long moment. "Son, you've created quite a situation," the general said. "Half the government wants to use you as a diplomatic weapon. The other half wants to lock you up for treason." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "Sir, I just saved a child." "I know what you did. And now the most powerful alien leader in the sector wants to make you part of her family. Do you understand how this could change the war?" Dr. Foster spoke up. "General, if Jake accepts this offer, he could become the first real bridge between our species. The intelligence value alone could be enormous," the general finished. Or it could be a disaster. If they're playing us. General Harrison leaned forward. Morrison, I'm going to be straight with you. Command wants you to accept the offer. They want you to get close to these aliens and learn everything you can. Jake felt sick. You want me to spy on them? They're offering me a place in their family, and you want me to betray that trust? I want you to serve your species, the general said coldly. This war has cost us millions of lives. If getting close to their leaders can end it, then that's what needs to happen. Dr. Foster looked uncomfortable. General, if Jake betrays the life debt, it could make things much worse. Zephyrians don't forgive broken honor bonds. The general stood up. That's a risk we'll have to take. Morrison, you have 3 days to prepare. You're going to accept their offer. After the general left, Jake sat alone with Dr. Foster. She looked worried. Sergeant, I need to tell you something else, she said quietly. The life debt isn't just cultural. It's biological, too. What do you mean? Zephyrians have limited telepathic abilities. When Lysandra's daughter touched you, she created a connection. That's why you felt that warm sensation in your mind. You're already partially bonded to their family. Jake remembered the strange feeling when Zira touched his hand. Is that permanent? We don't know. No human has ever experienced this before. But it might explain why you can't stop thinking about them. That evening, Jake walked alone outside the base. The crystal in his pocket pulsed gently. He thought about the little girl who had smiled at him. He thought about her mother's offer. He also thought about the general's orders. He was supposed to spy on people who wanted to trust him. The idea made him feel dirty. Danny Carter found him sitting on a hill overlooking the valley. The young soldier sat down beside him. Sarge, everyone's talking about what you're going to do. What do you think I should do, Danny? Danny was quiet for a moment. I think that little girl is lucky you found her, and I think her mom knows a good person when she sees one. Command wants me to spy on them. Yeah, I heard. That sucks. Danny picked up a rock and threw it down the hill. But maybe you don't have to choose between serving Earth and doing the right thing. What do you mean? Maybe the right thing for Earth is to actually try to make peace. Maybe spying on them isn't the only way to help humanity. Jake thought about Danny's words. The young soldier was right. There had to be another way. That night, Jake took out the crystal. It grew brighter when he held it. He could feel a gentle presence in his mind, like someone waiting patiently to talk. Lysandra, he said softly. The crystal flashed, and suddenly, he could hear her voice in his mind. It was clear and musical, like she was standing right next to him. Jake Morrison, you wish to speak? Yes. I need to ask you something important. If I accept your offer, what would you expect from me? Only that you help guide Zira with wisdom and honor, that you teach her about courage and kindness, that you be the good influence I saw when you saved her life. And in return? In return, you would have a family among the stars. You would have our protection and our love, and perhaps you could help us understand how to end this war. Jake took a deep breath. Lysandra, my government wants me to spy on you. They want me to use your trust to gather intelligence. There was silence for a moment. Then Lysandra's voice came back. Sad, but not angry. I suspected this might be true. Your leaders think like warriors, not like family. But what do you think, Jake Morrison? What does your heart tell you to do? Jake closed his eyes. He thought about the scared child in the rubble. He thought about the beautiful alien woman who saw honor in his simple act of kindness. He thought about the war that had already taken too many lives. My heart tells me that I want to help Zira grow up safe and happy, and I want to find a way to stop this war without betraying anyone's trust. Then we are in agreement. Come to us with an open heart, Jake Morrison. Bring your human perspective and your human honor. Help us build something better than war. The connection faded, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. He had made his decision. In 4 days, when Lysandra returned, he would accept her offer. But he would do it his way. He would not be a spy. He would be what she asked him to be, a teacher, a protector, and perhaps a bridge between two species that had forgotten how to trust. He only hoped it would be enough to change the course of a war. The day arrived when Lysandra would return for Jake's answer. The human base was tense. Soldiers cleaned their weapons and checked their equipment. Nobody knew what would happen next. Jake stood in the same field where he had first met the High Counselor. This time he was not afraid. He had made his choice. The Zephyrian ship appeared in the sky right on time. It landed with the same silent grace as before. But this time, more aliens came out of the ship. Lysandra walked toward Jake, but she was not alone. Commander Veltar was with her, along with several other Zephyrians in formal robes. Their skin showed different colors, some bright, some dark. Behind them came a small figure that made Jake's heart skip. It was Zira, the child he had saved. She looked healthy and happy. Her silver hair gleamed in the sunlight. When she saw Jake, she broke away from the group and ran toward him. She stopped, a few feet away, and made musical sounds in her language. She says she is happy to see the kind human again, Lysandra translated with a smile. Jake knelt down to Zira's level. "Hello, little one. How is your leg?" Zira lifted her leg and showed him that it was completely healed. Then she reached into a small bag and pulled out something for Jake. It was a flower, but not like any flower from Earth. It seemed to be made of crystal and light. "She grew this for you," Lysandra said. "It is a gratitude flower, very special." Jake took the flower carefully. It was warm and seemed to pulse with life. "Thank you, Zira. It's beautiful." Colonel Phillips and Dr. Foster approached the group. The tension was obvious. Several Zephyrians had their hands near their weapons. The humans were just as ready. "High Counselor," Colonel Phillips said formally. "Sergeant Morrison is ready to give you his answer." Lysandra nodded. Her skin shifted to calm blue and green colors. "I am ready to hear it." Jake stepped forward. "I accept your offer. I want to help teach and protect Zira." A ripple of color went through the group of Zephyrians. Some showed bright, happy colors. Others, including Commander Veltar, showed darker shades. "But," Jake continued, "I have conditions." Lysandra tilted her head. "Speak them." "I will not spy on your people for my government. I will not betray your trust. If I am to be part of your family, then I need to be honest with you about everything." Commander Veltar stepped forward. His skin flashed angry red. "You see? This human admits his people wanted him to spy on us. This proves they cannot be trusted." "No," Lysandra said firmly. "This proves that Jake Morrison can be trusted. He could have hidden this from us, but he chose honesty instead." She looked at Jake with those star-filled eyes. "I accept your conditions. But to make this bond complete, you must undergo the trial of understanding." Dr. Foster stepped closer. "What is that?" It is a telepathic joining, Lysandra explained. Jake and I will share minds for a short time. I will see his true thoughts and intentions. He will see mine. If we are compatible, the bond will be sealed. Colonel Phillips looked worried. Is it safe for humans? No human has ever tried it before, Commander Veltar said with satisfaction. Their minds are not made for our telepathy. It could kill him or drive him insane. Jake felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his voice steady. What are the risks? Lysandra's skin showed serious purple and gold patterns. I will not lie to you. Human brains are different from ours. The joining could damage your mind, or it might not work at all. But if it does work, you will become the first human who can truly communicate with our people. Zira made soft sounds and tugged on her mother's robe. Lysandra knelt down and listened to the child. They had a quick conversation in their musical language. Zira says she touched your mind before, when you saved her. She says your mind felt different from other humans, stronger. She thinks you can survive the trial. Jake looked at the little girl. She nodded at him with serious eyes and spoke a few words in broken English. You, strong inside, like Zephyrian strong. Dr. Foster grabbed Jake's arm. Sergeant, this is too dangerous. We don't know what telepathic contact could do to a human brain. I know the risks, Jake said. But if I'm going to help Zira, if I'm going to try to build peace between our peoples, then I need to be able to really understand them. General Harrison's voice came over Colonel Phillips's radio. Sergeant Morrison, you are not authorized to take this risk. Jake looked at the radio, then at the faces around him. Humans who wanted to use him. Zephyrians who did not trust him. And in the middle, a little girl who just wanted the kind human to be part of her family. With respect, sir, Jake said to the radio, I'm not asking for authorization. He turned to Lysandra. I'm ready. Lysandra nodded slowly. She placed her hands on either side of Jake's head. Her skin began to glow brighter. Clear your mind of fear, she said softly. Think only of why you saved my daughter. Jake closed his eyes. He remembered seeing Zira trapped under the rubble. He remembered her frightened tears. He remembered deciding that she was just a child who needed help. Suddenly, his mind exploded with sensation. He was flying through stars and colors he had no names for. He felt Lysandra's thoughts mixing with his own. Her memories flooded through him. He saw Zira being born, a perfect crystal child filled with light. He felt Lysandra's love for her daughter, so strong it made his chest ache. He saw the fear when Zira did not come home from her walk in the city, the desperate search through the battle zone. Then he saw his own memory from Lysandra's perspective. He saw himself lifting the beam off Zira, but through Lysandra's mind, he could see something else. A glow around him as he helped the child, his human kindness shining like a beacon. The pain in his head was terrible. It felt like his brain was on fire. But he held on, letting Lysandra see his memories too. She saw his childhood in Detroit, his brother who died in the early days of the war, his grief and anger at all the death, but also his hope that someday the fighting would end. She saw the moment he decided to save Zira. She felt his human emotions, so different from Zephyrian feelings but just as real. She saw that he truly wanted to help, not just her daughter, but both species. The connection grew stronger. Jake could feel Lysandra's mind more clearly now. Her thoughts were like music, complex and beautiful. And to his amazement, she could feel his thoughts just as clearly. Then something unexpected happened. The pain in Jake's head began to fade. The connection stabilized. He could still feel Lysandra's presence in his mind, but it no longer hurt. They opened their eyes at the same time. Lysandra stepped back, her skin showing amazement and joy in bright gold and silver patterns. "Impossible," Commander Veltar whispered. "Not impossible," Lysandra said. "Miraculous. Jake Morrison, your mind is unlike any human mind we have studied. You have survived the joining. More than that, you have bonded with our family." Jake felt different. He could sense emotions from the Zephyrians around him. Veltar's suspicion, the other official's surprise, and Zira's pure happiness. Most of all, he could feel Lysandra's feelings toward him. It was not romantic love, but something deeper. Family love. The love of a sister for a brother, or a mother for an adopted son. "How do you feel?" Dr. Foster asked, scanning him with a medical device. "I feel connected," Jake said. "I can sense their emotions, and they can sense mine." Lysandra nodded. "The bond is complete. You are now Keth Moran in our language, child protector. You are family." Zira ran to Jake and hugged his leg. He could feel her joy and excitement through their mental connection. It was like being wrapped in warm sunshine. "What happens now?" Colonel Phillips asked. "Now Jake comes with us," Lysandra said. "He will live part-time among our people, learning our ways. He will help teach Zira about honor and courage, and perhaps, if we are fortunate, he will help us find a path to peace." Commander Veltar stepped forward. His skin showed reluctant acceptance. "If this human is truly bonded to the third house, then he is under our protection. Any who harm him will answer to us." Jake looked around at all the faces watching him. He was about to step across a line that no human had ever crossed. He was about to become part of an alien family. "I'm ready," he said. As they walked toward the Zephyrian ship, Jake felt Zira's small hand slip into his. Through their bond, he felt her thoughts, simple and pure. "My brother protector, I am happy." Jake smiled. For the first time since the war began, he felt hope for the future. 6 months had passed since Jake joined Lysandra's family. He now lived part of his time on the Zephyrian mothership and part of his time at the human base. It was a strange life, but he was getting used to it. Zira had grown taller and more confident. She could now speak basic English, and Jake was learning to speak Zephyrian. More importantly, their mental bond had grown stronger. Jake could feel her emotions clearly, and she could sense his thoughts. Through Zira, Jake was learning to understand Zephyrian culture. They valued honor above everything else. They believed that protecting the innocent was the highest duty. They had families that lasted for thousands of years. Jake was in his quarters on the Zephyrian ship when alarms began sounding. Red lights flashed through the corridors. He could feel fear and anger from the Zephyrians through his mental connection. Lysandra burst into his room. Her skin was flashing bright red and orange, colors that meant danger and rage. "Jake, we are under attack. Both our peoples have been betrayed." "What do you mean?" "Extremists from both sides have joined together. They want to kill you, me, and Zira. They believe that our bond threatens their war." Jake felt his blood turn cold. "Where is Zira?" "Safe for now, but not for long. The attackers have surrounded this ship. They also have forces moving toward your human base." Through the ship's windows, Jake could see explosions in the distance. Human and Zephyrian ships were fighting together against other human and Zephyrian ships. It was madness. "Commander Veltar," appeared in the doorway. His armor was damaged and his skin showed grim determination. "High Counselor, we must evacuate you immediately. The traitors have superior numbers." "No," Lysandra said firmly. "If we run, they win. If we run, this war will never end." Jake felt an idea forming in his mind. It was dangerous, maybe impossible, but it might be their only chance. "Lysandra, can you use our mental bond to connect me to other Zephyrians?" "Yes, but why would you want that?" "Because I have an idea. What if we could get both human and Zephyrian forces to work together? What if we could show them that cooperation is stronger than hatred?" Commander Veltar shook his head. "Impossible. Our people have been enemies too long." "Have they?" Jake asked. "Or have their leaders been enemies? Most soldiers on both sides are just following orders. They're not the ones who started this war." Another explosion rocked the ship. Through the mental connection, Jake could feel Zira's fear. She was hiding in a safe room, but the attackers were getting closer. "We need to try," Jake said. "For Zira's sake and for everyone else who might die today." Lysandra nodded slowly. "What do you need me to do?" "Connect me to as many Zephyrian minds as you can. I need to speak to your people directly." "Jake, that could damage your mind permanently. You're not designed to handle multiple telepathic connections." "Then we'd better do it fast." Lysandra placed her hands on Jake's head. He felt her power flowing into him, amplifying his own mental abilities. Suddenly, he could sense hundreds of Zephyrian minds around him. Fear, anger, confusion. The emotions hit him like a wave, but he pushed through them and projected his own thoughts as clearly as he could. "This is Jake Morrison, the human who is bonded to the third house. I know you can feel my thoughts. I know you can sense that I am speaking truth." The mental noise quieted as Zephyrians throughout the fleet focused on his words. "The extremists attacking us want you to believe that humans are your natural enemies. But I am human, and I am part of your family. Lysandra accepted me because I showed honor, because I protected an innocent child." Jake felt some of the anger and fear beginning to fade. He pressed on. "There are humans fighting alongside the extremists today, but there are also humans who would fight to protect Zephyrian children if asked. There are humans who want peace as much as you do." Through the ship's communication system, Jake could hear the battle raging outside. But he also heard something else. Human voices on the radio calling for assistance. "Commander Veltar," Jake said out loud, "can you patch me into the human communication channels?" Veltar looked at Lysandra, who nodded. He activated the ship's radio system. "This is Sergeant Jake Morrison," Jake broadcast on all human frequencies. "I'm speaking from the Zephyrian command ship. We are under attack by extremists from both our species." Static and confused voices answered him. "Sarge?" It was Danny Carter's voice. "Is that really you?" "It's me, Danny. Listen carefully. The Zephyrians are not our enemies today. The real enemies are the humans and aliens who want this war to continue forever." "What are you talking about?" Jake could sense through his mental bond that Zira was in immediate danger. The attackers had found her hiding place. "Danny, I need you to trust me. I need all human forces to coordinate with Zephyrian forces. We need to work together to stop the extremists." "That's impossible, Sarge. Command would never authorize—" "Command is compromised," Jake said. "General Harrison is leading the human extremists. He wants to use this attack to justify wiping out all Zephyrians, even the ones who want peace, through—" The mental connection, Jake felt Lysandra's shock. She had not known about the general's betrayal. More voices came over the radio. Human soldiers asking for orders, confused by the mixed battle happening around them. Jake made a desperate decision. Using both the radio and the telepathic connection, he addressed both species at once. "This is my promise to all of you," he said. "Human and Zephyrian, soldier and civilian. I have lived among both our peoples. I have seen honor and courage in both. I have seen love and kindness in both." He paused, feeling the minds focused on him. "The child I saved 6 months ago is in danger right now. She is innocent. She has done nothing wrong except be born to a mother who wanted peace. If you let her die today, if you let hatred win, then this war will consume everything good in both our species." Jake felt Zira's terror spike. The attackers had broken through her door. "I'm going to save her," Jake said. "Anyone who wants to help save an innocent child, human or Zephyrian, follow me." Jake ran toward the safe room where Zira was hidden. Behind him, he heard Lysandra and Veltar following. Around the ship, he could feel Zephyrian minds making the decision to trust him. Over the radio, he heard Danny's voice. "All units, this is Private Carter. I'm following Sergeant Morrison's lead. Any human forces who want to protect civilians instead of killing them, form up on my position." More human voices joined in. Soldiers who remembered Jake, who trusted his judgment. Soldiers who were tired of a war that seemed to have no end. Jake reached the safe room to find it under attack by both human and Zephyrian extremists. They were working together to kill a child because she represented hope for peace. The attackers turned their weapons on Jake. But before they could fire, the corridor filled with defenders. Human soldiers and Zephyrian warriors fighting side by side for the first time in the war. Jake pushed through the battle to reach Zira. She was cornered and terrified, but when she saw him, relief flooded their mental connection. "Brother Protector," she cried, running to him. Jake held her close, feeling her small body trembling. Around them, the battle continued, but it was different now. Humans and Zephyrians were coordinating their attacks, covering each other, saving each other's lives. The extremists, faced with unified opposition, began to retreat. Later, as the last of the attackers were captured or fled, Jake stood with Lysandra and Zira on the ship's observation deck. Outside, human and Zephyrian ships were working together to secure the area. "You did something remarkable today," Lysandra said. Her skin showed deep respect and affection. "You showed both our peoples. That cooperation is possible." "Will it last?" Jake asked. "I don't know, but you have given us hope. You have shown that a single person's choice to do the right thing can change everything." Zira tugged on Jake's sleeve. "Brother Protector, will you teach me to be brave like you?" Jake knelt down and looked into her bright eyes. "You're already brave, little sister. You just need to remember that being different from someone doesn't make them your enemy." Over the radio, Colonel Phillips's voice crackled through. "Sergeant Morrison, this is Phillips. Command has authorized me to begin formal peace negotiations with the Zephyrians. They want you as the primary liaison." Jake looked at Lysandra, who nodded with a smile. "Copy that, Colonel. I'll be there." As they prepared to shuttle back to the human base, Jake realized that his life had become something he never could have imagined. He was no longer just a human soldier or just a Zephyrian family member. He was something new, a bridge between worlds. 5 years later, Jake stood in a mixed colony where humans and Zephyrians lived and worked together. The war was over, ended not by victory or defeat, but by the simple realization that different species could choose to be family instead of enemies. Zira, now a young adult, had become the first Zephyrian ambassador to humanity. She called Jake, brother, in both languages, and through their bond, he could feel her pride in the peaceful world they had helped create. Lysandra approached him in the colony's central park, where human and Zephyrian children played together. "Do you ever regret the choice you made that day in the ruins?" she asked. Jake watched a human boy help a young Zephyrian girl reach a high tree branch. Both children were laughing. "No," he said. "I learned something that day. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change the universe." Lysandra's